I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 13th, brought to you in part by Noromycin by Norbrook. Noromycin 300 LA is a proven go-to antibiotic for a broad spectrum of cattle diseases and infections. For more information, visit with your animal health supplier or go to norbrook.com. Immediate reaction to the report. Been talking to you guys for the last several sessions about the supply and demand grain report that was to come out on Wednesday. We were hoping, of course, that it would be bearish for corn because corn's just been on a runaway here for the last couple of months. And indeed it was. It wasn't a grizzly bear, but it was bearish to the corn market. And so it did help your cattle a little bit, feeder cattle, not so much live cattle. It seemed like on the way down, corn going up hurt your live cattle. But now that we've got a bearish corn report or grain report, it didn't help your live cattle. Of course, it shouldn't, but it shouldn't have hurt it on the way up either. But interesting information on that supply and demand report. They increased the yield expectations just a half a bushel per acre at 179.5 bushels to the acre, which, it adds up after a while. Planted acres were up. Of course, soybeans increased in acres too. So both beans and corn found some more acres out there somewhere, but we thought they were kind of short on acreage anyway. But planted acres were up slightly to 91.1 million acres of corn planted. The main thing is the ending stocks, and sometimes when you're talking about corn, you're talking about stocks. You get to thinking about corn stocks and you lose where you're at, but we're talking about stockpiles, what we've got left when we get done. But U.S. ending stockpiles, 1.507 billion bushels. Now that's pretty steep compared to the estimate of 1.327 billion bushels. That's significant. That was the number that caused your corn to go down some, and on new crop mostly, but it should have went down more. I mean, you would have thought that it would have locked limit down, but it didn't. Your world stocks, ending stocks, 292.3 million tons, so they measure that differently because everybody goes in metric tons around the world, but 292.3 million tons compared to the estimated ending stocks of corn worldwide at 284 million tons. So it's significant, guys. South America was disappointing. Of course, they've been hanging their hat on that for the last $2 or $3 a bushel on corn. So that wasn't a big surprise out there, but your soybean results came in a lot closer to what estimates were, so it didn't shake them up and they just continued to go up again. But it was a pretty significant report, and like I said on the start, immediate reaction to the report. Your feeder cattle buyers kind of breathed a sigh of relief, and even though corn didn't go down much and likely not expected to go down significantly, it kind of just let them breathe a sigh of relief that it's not going to go to $20 a bushel. Now, it might go to 10, but it was just an immediate reaction. Feeder cattle started selling better in all of your auctions. The report come out at 11 o'clock in the morning Central, which was before the board closed and before a lot of your business was done in your cash market. So, the cash markets were able to react to it, and we'll talk about how that happened through the day as we go forward and start talking about your markets like we always do. Let's talk about your board. On Wednesday, June live cattle futures ended the day at down just 2 cents, so that's no big deal. 118.60. That's kind of par. Might be actually a little bit of basis for the guys that sold late on Wednesday. A lot of 120 out there, so your hedged feeders were kind of happy where things are sitting right now. August live cattle up 27 cents at 122.32. You go on out in your back months of live cattle down just 22 cents to up 90, and the up 90 was all the way out there at the last traded month of October of 2022. How about feeder cattle? May feeder cattle, your spot contract up $1.42. We would expect that. Would have liked to have seen it up more, but with all that bearish news on corn, we just couldn't get it to go down any. But your May contract ended the day at 136.75. August up $1.67 at 150.52. So now we're just about 10 or 12 bucks lower than where it was when I was telling you guys you needed to dally up to it and get a hedge on those cattle that you turned out for the summer. But on your back months of feeder cattle, they were up 157 to up 220. And that's very understandable. That's the way it should have been. May corn only down 2 cents for your old crop May corn at 757.5. But new crop December corn down 18.25. And that's significant in the history of corn markets, but it's not significant for the last several months here because they've been going up and down, 20 or more cents there. But down 18.25 at 5.93 a bushel to end the day. May beans just continued to skyrocket, up 23 cents at 16.60.5. November new crop beans up 12.25 at 14.43 3/4. How about your fat cattle trade? We did see some more trade, but we haven't seen the gates just swinging wide open. Actually, I guess you could say Texas did. They sold 7,200, and they haven't been selling many more than that. So Texas is done, and but the other places, especially in the northern plains, we haven't seen the volume of trade or anywhere close to what what we've been used to seeing here for the last couple of months. But Iowa sold another 1,800 head on Wednesday, confirmed from 116.5. I'm not sure who that was, all the way up to 120, a lot of 119. Dress sales 188 to 191. Nebraska 5,800 head from 118 to 121, but mostly 120, and some dress trade at 191. Kansas 3,200 head from 119 to 120, kind of split there, and 191 on a dress basis. Texas 7,200 head, like I said, 119 to 120, but mostly 119. And still, even though your southern plains last week kind of traded at a premium to the northern plains, it's Nebraska that's still shortest on the market-ready supplies. Colorado even traded about 300 head confirmed on Wednesday at 120 and a little 190. Box beef cutout values just continue to soar, and these packers have no gall. I mean, none. It doesn't bother them a bit, but to have their arm all the way to the armpit in the cookie jar, they have no gall. I think they probably looked twice at that meeting of truce, but until we get a statement out on it early this next week saying that all these cattle associations have agreed to get behind something and push on it all in the same direction all at once, they're not going to get nervous about it at all, because they don't believe that your cattle people can get together. Like I said, it's so much easier to get 4 heads together than 400 or 4,000. But and they count on that. They depend on that. But look at choice box beef cutout values on Wednesday afternoon. 315.08 up 271. Wow. You figure $315 on a choice carcass minus the $1.90 that we're selling them for, selling dress cattle for in the meat. That's $125 a carcass, and then you figure, you figured 9 weight. That's per 100. You figure a 900-pound carcass on the average, so takes that times 9. That's $1,125 profit to cut that carcass up. $1,125. That's on an average size choice carcass. Unbelievable. And then you figure, they're going to say, well, we can't do this for free. We got kill costs. Yeah, but we've got a drop value should more than take care of your kill costs with economies of scale. I mean, your drop value is up there over $11 now. So it's just unbelievable the amount of money that they're making. They don't seem to have a problem with it. And we've got to do something to help ourselves, guys. They're not going to do it for us. Select cuts 297.16 up 82 cents. Your slaughter 348,000 through Wednesday, 7,000 less than last week, 70,000 more than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about feeder cattle. Real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Wednesday at 132.52, up 51 cents with a lot of volume in there. A lot of Southern Plains sales, but they're selling just about as good as the Northern Plains sales. And you normally don't see that this time of year, because you normally see your farmer feeders looking for a summer project, and they're wanting to empty out the bins they have there on the farm because they know they've got a bumper crop in the field and they're going to need that room. But not quite so much this spring. Of course, there's some good demand from your farmer feeders in the north, but not much better than your corporate guys in the south. The corporate yards know that they've got to fill those yards up with cattle because they're already, under contract to supply the feedlots with cattle. And so they're the ones that's going to pay the big money for the corn to feed them. How about some of your big sales on Wednesday? OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 6,300 head. Feeder steers $6 to $9 higher. Can you believe it? Than last week. Feeder heifers $3 to $5 higher. Calves were not well tested, but had a higher undertone on Tuesday. Excuse me. But check out this high quote that I saw out of El Reno. John Cooper sent it to me, and he thought it was high when he sold it, and it sure enough was. Said the cattle did have pretty good condition on them on the thin side. 63 head, 823 pound steers, bring 139 and a quarter. Think you can't get a big price out of a high volume market? Did right there in El Reno, Oklahoma. How about winter livestock, Dodge City, Kansas? 3,000 head there. Feeder cattle, steers and heifers, $2 to $6 higher. I mean, just immediate reaction to that report. Stick out sale in Dodge City on some 9-weight steers. 60 head of them weighed 904 at 131.50. How about some stick out sales around the circuit there? Individual quotes. Bloomfield livestock market, Bloomfield, Iowa. Roman Schooley there, he was sending me quotes out of there, and they were having a hell of a sale. Had a hell of a sale on heifers, but I'd rather give steer quotes because you guys think they might be replacements. 60 head of 836 pound steers bring 141.75. How about Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota? We always talk about their fat cattle sale. They got a hell of a good feeder cattle sale on a Wednesday too. How about 180 head, 651 pound steers in Yankton, South Dakota, bring 171.50. Wow. But I'm enjoying, and I'm happy to give you our Zach Tram top quote for the day. I tell you what, it's a sale that's recently changed hands from one friend of mine to another. Clay Myers has owned Texhoma Livestock Auction, Texhoma, Oklahoma. Not talking about Lake Texhoma over there. I'm talking about western side of the Oklahoma Panhandle. And you think, well, where's Texhoma, Oklahoma? It's just right up the road from Stratford, Texas. It's just right across from Boise City, Oklahoma, where they make that no man's land beef jerky. And it's just a very, very few miles from right there, Panhandle State University, where the Etbauer boys went to college there, and they've had world championship collegiate rodeo teams there. But right there in Texhoma, Oklahoma, Clay Myers owned it for many years. Good friend of mine. He decided maybe it was time to stay at the ranch and play with Mama a little bit more than what he'd been doing. So good luck to him there. And but anyway, it's under new ownership now, and under the management of my friend Ashley Noland. Ashley Noland's from Amarillo, Texas here. And I tell you what, Ashley is one of the more talented cattlemen, in the Southern Plains here. I tell you what, he's a hell of an auctioneer and going to sell that sale, the feeder cattle anyway, there at Texhoma. And he's probably one of the best, if not the best, judge of value of cattle than anybody else that I know. And that is something that I look up to, people that know the value of cattle. And I mean any class of cattle, any quality of cattle. But Ashley's getting in there, and I tell you what, it's kind of a neat deal. 40 years ago, his dad Larry was invested in that sale at Texhoma there. And you look at this newspaper clipping that he had sent me here a few weeks back when they got the sale of it done. And it's just, it's kind of nostalgic if you look back. The little boy standing in front of the guy with the cowboy hat on is Ashley Nolan. And now 40 years later, he's managing that sale and invested in it. And his dad there standing above him with the cowboy hat is Larry Nolan, been around for 100 years, and he still looks exactly the same as he did in that picture. And all I can tell is Clean Living just agrees with Larry Nolan. But they had the Zach Tran top quote for the day. Texhoma Livestock Exchange, they're calling it, had about 1,800 head there. Was going to have more. They had a few cancellations there. But getting that sale up and going again. Jeremy Carmen's cattle out of Guyman, Oklahoma. Home-raised steers. 84 head, weighed 878 pounds at 138 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.